Dhamma Sabaai Sabai, Dhamma Talk from the Buddha, November 27th, 2022. Are we on the right path of practice? Topic: Cultivate morality into the DNA of the body and mind. While progressing on the path of Dhamma practice, there might be times when some Buddhist practitioners feel uncertain whether their practice is right or whether they are on the right path or not. To walk the path of practice of the Buddha, one shall walk the middle path, the path that takes Sila, morality or precepts, and Dhamma as focus and priority. Without practice, most people would act and react based on their own feelings and emotions due to attachments to a sense of self. However, with right practice, one will gradually adapt oneself and one's everyday living to Sila and Dhamma. Monastic disciplinary rules or Vinaya include monastic routines such as daily chantings are examples of Sila. Practice of Sila refers to restraint of the body which leads to cultivation of the mind. Being formless, the mind dwells within the body. Thus, practice of Sila has to be performed through the body. In this case, practicing of the body is the same as practicing of the mind. Those who practice Sila by firmly keeping the precepts, with intention to refrain from doing all evil, are regarded as walking the middle path. Without evil intention, even though one makes a mistake, it is not regarded as breaking the precepts. However, when one, despite being doubtful whether an act is against the precepts or not, decides to take the doubtful action anyway, it is regarded as breaking the precepts. For example, if one happens to step on an insect without an intention to harm it, although the insect might be dead, one is not regarded as breaking the precepts. It is important to understand that when one keeps the precepts, one is on the right path and progressing with right practice. Dhamma practice is the practice to relinquish selfishness, which arises dependent on attachments to a strong sense of self, which then is the origin of becoming, birth, and thus samsara, endless cycle of birth and death. Key to advancing in Dhamma practice is to be selfless and refrain from selfishness. Same as in Sila practice. Key to advancing in Sila practice is to be selfless. Refrain from actions out of carelessness or self-indulgence. Our thoughts play a vital role in the practice too, as they can be either toxic or healing to our lives. For example, wishful thinking about life without old age, sickness, or death is such a waste of time and energy as it can never happen. Then why waste the time and energy? A thought to become more wealthy without working harder leads to suffering, and as one keeps on hurting oneself with a false hope. This is why it is important to follow the Buddha's teaching on developing right view and right livelihood, a way to earn a living without harming others or oneself. Normally, our everyday life repeats the same old patterns. We sleep, wake up, make the bed, clean the house, and so on. The Buddha taught us to be happy when performing all tasks, whether it be cleaning the house or working in the office, and to be focused and committed to doing them. When working on any tasks, there is no need to focus on the speed of completing the task, as the speed is dependent on the time allocated for each task. However, it is important to develop mindfulness and concentration while working. And by developing mindfulness and concentration while working on all tasks, one is thereby practicing Dhamma. As time goes by, it is important that one pays more and more attention to detail of the practice. We all should perform all kinds of work for the sake of working and cultivation of selflessness and not for gratitude. One would suffer if one does something and expect gratitude, or praises in return. However, one's mind would be peaceful and serene if one works for the sake of working and cultivation of selflessness. Not many people know that working and practicing are the same thing. We can practice Dharma, that is to practice to perform goodness and to train oneself on selflessness and mindfulness, anytime, even when we are working. Dhamma practice is not just about sitting and walking meditation. They are just a small part of the practice. The practice can be performed in any one or all of the 8 dimensions of our life, namely view, resolute, speech, action, livelihood, effort, mindfulness, and concentration. Many practitioners have the misunderstanding that they are so busy and they do not have time for Sila and Dhamma practice. This is because they do not really understand the Buddha's teaching and the practice. We can all practice anywhere, at home or at the office. It is not true that one cannot practice at the office because it is too chaotic there. Without these chaos, there is no reason why we should practice Sila or keep the precepts, and no opportunity to practice to make our minds peaceful and serene. There are both good and evil people in our community and everywhere else. It is not possible to wait for all the problems to go away, and they will not, as they are the worldly conventions and conditions of samsara. Thus, it is our duty to cultivate our minds and refine our speech and actions. Some might have heard a saying from heedless practitioners, such as, "I will ordain when my defilements vanish," which is contradictory, as one does not need to ordain if one's defilements already vanish. The reason for one to ordain is because one is full of defilements and wishes to cut down and finally uproot them with Dhamma practice.